Most people outside Latin America have never heard her name, yet she has shaped the fate of an entire country. She doesn't campaign, she doesn't seek applause, she doesn't need popularity. She operates in silence, inside institutions, in moments of crisis. This is Delcy Rodríguez. And this is how power really works inside the Venezuelan regime. When people talked about Venezuela, they usually focused on one man, Nicolás Maduro. But regimes are not sustained by presidents alone. They are sustained by structures, by loyalty, by people who keep the system functioning when legitimacy disappears. Every long-lasting regime has operators, figures who manage power when the spotlight fades. Delcy Rodríguez is one of those figures. Delcy Rodríguez was born into a deeply political family in Caracas. Her father was a historic figure in Venezuela's left-wing movements, and his violent death became a defining moment in her life. From an early age, politics was not abstract. It was personal. It was dangerous, and it was permanent. She studied law and international relations not as an academic pursuit, but as preparation for power. She entered government during the Hugo Chavez era, at a time when loyalty mattered more than credentials. As the system radicalized, Delcy Rodríguez proved something crucial. She could be trusted. She didn't challenge authority. She didn't seek visibility. She executed. When Chavez died and Maduro inherited a fractured system, many figures fell. Delcy stayed. Delcy Rodríguez understood something early. In unstable regimes, visibility is a weakness. Real power lives in institutions, procedures, and coordination. While others spoke to the public, she worked inside the machinery of the state. She positioned herself where decisions were made, not where cameras were placed. As Minister of Foreign Affairs, Delcy Rodríguez became the regime's shield abroad. She defended Venezuela aggressively on the international stage, rejecting criticism, attacking sanctions, and reframing isolation as resistance. Her rhetoric was harsh, unapologetic, and deliberate. She wasn't there to persuade, she was there to resist pressure. One of her most decisive roles came as President of the Constituent National Assembly. This body was created after the opposition won parliament, effectively neutralizing democratic resistance. It rewrote rules, bypassed institutions, and consolidated executive power. It was controversial, it was condemned internationally, and it worked. Delcy Rodríguez didn't just participate in this process, she managed it. As vice president, her role expanded far beyond protocol. She became a central coordinator of economic policy, public administration, and internal stability. At different moments, she simultaneously oversaw finance and oil. In a country dependent on oil revenue, under heavy sanctions, this meant controlling survival itself. She didn't just run ministries, she synchronized them. Oil is not just an industry in Venezuela, it is power. Controlling oil means controlling foreign currency, alliances, and negotiation leverage. Delcy Rodríguez's involvement in the oil sector placed her at the core of the regime's survival strategy. When revenues collapsed, when sanctions tightened, she adapted. The goal was never growth, it was endurance. Inside the regime, Delcy Rodríguez developed a reputation. She was described as tough, disciplined, uncompromising. She was trusted to make hard decisions, to enforce cohesion, to manage internal dissent. She did not rule through charisma, she ruled through structure. But power exercised in silence often leaves traces. Human rights organizations, journalists, and former detainees have repeatedly accused the Venezuelan state of systematic abuses. One place appears again and again in these reports: El Helicoide. Originally designed as a modern intelligence headquarters, El Helicoide became one of the most infamous detention centers in the country. According to multiple international reports, it has been used to detain political prisoners, often without due process. Former detainees and human rights groups have described psychological pressure, harsh detention conditions, and allegations of torture. Delcy Rodríguez has never been officially charged, but during the years when these abuses were reported, she was one of the most powerful figures inside the executive structure. As vice president, she oversaw institutions responsible for internal security and governance. Critics argue that this level of authority implies responsibility. Supporters deny direct involvement and frame the accusations as politically motivated. What remains uncontested is that these practices became systemic during the period in which she consolidated power. In regimes under pressure, repression is not chaos. It is administration. Delcy Rodríguez was personally sanctioned by multiple countries, not because of symbolism, but because of relevance. Sanctions target people who matter, people who move resources, people who negotiate, people who stabilize systems. Sanctions don't eliminate power, they expose it. As Venezuela entered prolonged crisis, Delcy Rodríguez became a constant presence. Economic collapse, migration, protests, institutional breakdown. Presidents addressed the public. She handled the mechanics. When legitimacy failed, procedure replaced democracy, and she mastered procedure. Delcy Rodríguez is not important because she is visible. She is important because she is durable. She represents a modern form of power, unelected, institutional, and persistent. While leaders change, operators remain. She is not the face of the regime, she is one of its pillars. To understand how regimes survive, you must stop watching speeches. Watch who manages collapse, who coordinates power, who endures. This was Delcy Rodríguez, and this is how shadow power sustains a regime.